Hey, it's Aaron Batty with 5MinuteBibleStudy.com, and today we're starting off with the 4 questions you need to ask when reading the Old Testament. After this, we'll go into 4 questions you need to ask when reading the New Testament, but let's just start with number 1 in the Old. There are 4 questions that start with number 1, what is the purpose of the book that I am reading? This is the first thing you need to ask before you start reading Genesis, Exodus, whether it's Kings, Samuel, I don't care. Even when you get to the New Testament, you're going to see the same question as question number 1 about the New Testament. What is the purpose of the book I am reading? Now, there are several ways to go about this, but before you go looking at different resources, just consider this concept right here. The Bible is like a tree, and different verses, different chapters of the Bible, some of them seem to be very obscure, and you're reading them and you're thinking, wow, what in the world, why did God put this chapter in the Bible? Why did God put this story within this chapter? Or why is this singular verse in the Bible? The question you have to ask yourself is, how does this support the main trunk of the tree? The Bible story is like a tree, and the trunk is the thing that runs from Exodus to Revelation. That trunk is ever present. The idea of that trunk is redemption. Redemption is the story of the Bible. Now, every single verse individually does not, in and of itself, illuminate the gospel, or doesn't illuminate the doctrine of redemption. But in some small way, it may be supporting a bigger limb, which eventually will take you to the trunk of the tree. And so when you're reading these stories, don't get so caught off guard and so lost in how these obscure stories don't seem to tell the big picture. Continue to read the Bible, and then as you pay attention and you continue to read with purpose, you'll see how each story is somehow either directly or indirectly supporting the trunk structure that is the story of redemption, running from Genesis to Revelation. Now, one other thing that would help you as you're trying to identify what is the purpose of 1 Samuel, if you're at that point of your Bible reading, there is a resource which I'll show you right here, Thomas Nelson's complete book of Bible maps and charts. I've given this to several people. I've gotten feedback from them. Many of them were not great readers. Many of them had never read their Bible before, and they were asking for some type of helpful resource to help them identify things like, what's the purpose of this book? What's the major theme in this book? What are key scriptures, key verses? And this book by Thomas Nelson, he's the same one that is the publisher for many Bibles that you might own, a Thomas Nelson Bible. And for each book of the Bible, he gives an introduction, an outline, sets key verses, major themes to look for, who wrote the book, when it was written to the best of our knowledge. He gives evidence for all these things. There's helpful charts, there's maps. And when you read the whole chapter on 1 Samuel, the book of Ruth, you can then at that point go to your Bible and feel like you have a good starting point. You feel like, man, I have an idea of what I'm actually reading. And so now at that point, you're looking for the trunk of the tree. You're looking to see, how does Ruth tell me about the story of redemption? And is it just a twig at the end of a branch that seems to be very indirectly unrelated to the story? Or is it a superstructure to the tree, very clearly teaching me about my Redeemer in Jesus Christ? Come back for lesson 6 and we'll talk about question 2, questions you need to ask about when reading the Old Testament, reading the Bible with purpose.